Yo, monkeys, it's me, DDP Diamond Dallas Page. And you, monkey, you're listening to the Potsy and Tino show. And that's not a bad thing, monkey. That's a good thing. Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I figured out how to do the show thing again at the beginning. Uh,
But the theme music didn't come on. You said bang, and the theme music never came on.
yeah, it was on.
No, oh man, on our end, he said bang, and then you started talking. The theme music never came on my end, so I don't know if anybody else heard the theme music.
Well, anyway, he's Tino. I'm Potsy. We're the Potsy and Tino show. Our theme song, as always, uh, if it plays, apparently, is is by Adam's House Cats called the Wrestling Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents. And Tino, we always start the show with what's up with you. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that. What went on with you this past week?
A lot. So, well, the big thing was Matthew had his
Well,
eighth
first of
grade
all,
graduate.
how's your mama doing?
She is good. What's up, Michael Turner? We taking her back to her homestead tomorrow.
I bet you're happy and sad.
Yes, yes, that's a good way to put it.
All right. So about
Yes,
Matthew.
yes. um, so yeah, last Wednesday, because Haley came Tuesday to hang with us because Matthew graduated eighth grade Wednesday. Um, and that day was just like crazy, because I took the day off and it just seemed like it, we got up, we had to get up early to get a good seat. So we want to make sure mom, we would get her settled because she's still walking with the cane and everything. So we want to make sure we got there early enough to try to get her a good seat. And we're still so it started at 9. I said, okay, we'll get there at 8:30. People were still there. So the way she ended up sitting was like, they had the rows where the kids sitting, and then there's a little walkway, and then they had another little right here, another little area, and people with wheelchairs or whatever. So we sat her right there. So she had a good seat. And so we did that, took pictures. Then he went and did his thing with his friends. He wanted to go have lunch with his friends. I went and dropped my sister back off at the airport, my sister and my nephew, because they were here about a whole week before, chilling. And then that night, so we'd asked Matthew, like we'd asked him a couple of days before, like, what do you want, your graduation dinner? Do you can have it Chipotle? We're like, really, dude? All right, well, that's what you want. So he changed his mind. So the night up was, all right, where are we going? This bitch said Blaze Pizza. Like anywhere in the world, we were gonna take him. Nice Blaze Pizza. I'm like, all right, dude, we'll take you to get Blaze. It was fun. We had a ball then. Then I worked Thursday, had to go into the office. So Haley chilled with Matthew all day. They went to the mall and they took him to the gym and worked out. And then Haley came back. Then we dropped Haley off at the airport Thursday night. Friday we chilled. Sunday was Father's Day. I didn't do shit. I didn't get out of bed till like 11:30. And then I got up, took a shower. Father-in-law got here about 1. We ordered City Barbecue, picked it up, came back. We had City Barbecue for Father's Day, which was awesome because I love City Barbecue. And then Nicole took my father-in-law to the airport, and I sat on the couch and we started watching the PLE again and fell asleep on it, which was okay because I'd watched it the night before, but fell
Well,
asleep.
I'm glad you watched it 1.5 times because I've only seen the Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest match because I was out all weekend. So you're gonna be speaking on that quite a bit, I would think.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I think they need to have the PLEs overseas more because those crowds, I hate to say it, those crowds are wilder and more into it than when they're home. And I hate to say it, but
well, before we got on here tonight, we'll obviously talk about this more, but like before we got on here, I was watching Raw, and the way that Raw started in Corpus Christi, Texas, was pretty hot. The thing is that like if they were to do, first of all, travel expenses are so much right now that like doing the PLEs like every other month out of the country kind of makes sense. But if they were to start doing the same thing that they do here, especially like AEW, where they keep going back to Chicago and they keep going back to New York and they keep going back to Florida, you see diminishing return every time. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
so you so you can't keep doing that. But I mean, like if
Well,
you
I'm not
say,
saying every PLE, but the bigger ones, or like you said, maybe every other bigger one.
well,
Because
the rumor is the reason why they moved SummerSlam to 2 nights starting next year is so that they can still have one major 2-night event in the United States and one overseas.
I thought that started this year.
No, no,
That starts
next year,
if,
next year,
if
2020.
I'm
They're,
not
they're
mistaken.
yeah, they're in like Minnesota, or that's for Minnesota, like next year.
Okay, I could have sworn that was starting this year, but okay.
No, no. As far as I know, SummerSlam's still one night this year. But anyway, so it sounds. Did you guys end up going to the Angus Barn?
That's this Wednesday. My anniversary is
Oh,
Wednesday.
this Wednesday. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Cool, cool. So I had a hell of a week.
Oh yeah. Tell us about it. I'm listening. I'm gonna go pour a drink real quick. I didn't get a chance to do it before.
No problem. Just so everybody out there listening can hear it.
I can still hear
So
you.
no, you're fine. So of course, like we did our show Monday. I worked Tuesday and Wednesday. Did my trivia nights both nights last week. And then Thursday, I was supposed to get my car's oil changed, and I was supposed to get my tires rotated. Well,
Hmm.
Tuesday last week, they call me and they tell me, "Hey, just so you know, your appointment isn't going to guarantee that your car gets done." You're making a lot of noise. Uh, but they told me that it doesn't mean that my car's going to get done by having an actual by having an appointment.
Right. Which I
So
don't
I'm
understand. You made the appointment, and then they were like, "Oh, just because you made the appointment doesn't mean you can get your car." Well, yes, it does.
exactly, and that's what I said to them. So of course, we get to Thursday morning when I'm supposed to take my car, and I was like, last year when I drove down to Charlotte for this convention, I waited in line for like an hour, to get my stuff into the convention, and then I ended up just parking my car and in. So I said, I'm probably just gonna skip the oil change. I'll reset the appointment. So I did that. So I've got an appointment for next Saturday, which by the way, my car's been telling me since like last Wednesday, hey, it's time to get an oil change. So I'm really running it to the very last moment without the oil change. But so anyway, I skip that. I get all the way down to Charlotte. I make it down there in like 2 hours from my house, right? And I don't go more than like 8 miles an hour over the speed limit. So so I'm down there and I'm waiting in line to get my car into the damn thing. And again, so I said, screw it. I'm not waiting. I just parked my car in one of the parking decks, had to pay $15 for my damn car to be in there like 2 hours. Yeah, Charlotte's even worse than Raleigh when it comes to the parking situations. Get my stuff into the convention, talk to a bunch of people. My buddy Billy, who's always there at the conventions with me, gets down there and we're like, well, what do we do for dinner, right? So we order DoorDash and we get Mexican because it's like we're thinking, okay, it's the weekend before Juneteenth. We've got the convention, everything's going to be packed, whatever. So we order some food and we just chill out. We don't do much of anything on Wednesday night, but I did, or Thursday night, but I did set up my entire booth. And I don't know if anybody saw the pictures, but I mean, I had two full tables set up and it was ready to go. Like it was a massive display. It was pretty major. Um, and of course, when I was wheeling it in, because I was wheeling from 2 blocks away and wheeling my cart, like basically city blocks, which are what, a quarter mile each. So
Wow.
so I'm sitting there trying to. Well, I by the time I got done wheeling all my stuff in, setting everything up, I had 15,000 steps already. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know. So anyway, get all my stuff in there, but it all fell off my cart as I tried to walk across the street. So I got across the street, but I got to the corner, and for some reason they got the little ramp that goes down, you know, like the handicap ramps, and then there's bumps on it. So of course you're trying to walk a cart that doesn't have rubber tires across the damn thing, and it goes chunk and boom, everything everywhere. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? So I was like, all right. Luckily, the guy that was moving traffic along actually came over, helped me pick it all back up, put it back on the cart, and I figured out a better way to actually tie my my bungee cords on it. So I got it all in. Next morning, show starts at like 9:30 in the damn morning. Right, Friday morning starts at 9:30. I take two of my metal comics to get graded because I'm like, they say by end of show you'll get your books graded.
Were the metal comics on that thing that fell?
They were, but they were inside like something else.
Oh,
So one of them the plastic scraped, but on the inside it was still fine. You know, like again, I literally bought like the most expensive bags and everything that you could buy for a comic book.
Right.
So I get everything into the show, get everything set up. The next morning, you know, we're sitting there. The day goes by so fucking fast. And yet the show didn't end until 7 o'clock. And it's never like that. Like, even if I'm busy, it feels like, you know, like after a while, it feels like the day is dragging. But
Mm-hmm.
the day never felt like it was dragging. It felt like it was going at a blistering speed, right?
I mean, that's a good thing, though, right?
Yes and no. Because normally when it feels really, when it doesn't feel like it's blistering, it means you're slow. When it's going fast, you normally are busy. I wasn't either. I was like somewhere in the middle. So I wasn't doing the business that I thought, but I also wasn't not busy for most of the day, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and normally when it's a little bit, when it feels slow, you can go get all your networking in and everything else, and I really couldn't do that. Like, I didn't have time. So I mean, we talked to a couple people, and then we went back to our business. But you know, we brought Michael Adams, who is the artist and co-creator of Zor. So this is the first show that the two of us have been sitting at together since San Diego in 2022.
Yeah, because you said he's what, Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, yeah. Um, so we're sitting there, we're signing some books, we're doing, you know, we're doing our thing, and we get to the end of the day, and we're like, shit, it's gonna be hard to get food because this place is busy, right? And there's multiple conventions going on in Charlotte, so it's gonna be hard to get food. So we all just decide we're gonna go to the Brazilian steakhouse.
I love those places.
Right, right. But how often do you get the meat sweats when you go?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
And
of
well,
course,
if you haven't been in a while, you will. But like I
so of
know we
course
went like
we
twice in
go
like
we,
2 weeks, and we.
and we get the meat sweats. So of course I sit there and I tell Michael and his wife Angela, I'm like, thank you guys for having the meat sweats with me. You know, like and they're like, the meat sweats, and I'm like, you know what I mean. And they're both like, yeah, I guess we do. You know, like so anyway, Saturday had two interviews with different YouTube programs that are going to be dropping sometime either this week or next week. Both of them talking about Zor, talking about upcoming projects. One of which I did announce on Saturday at the show. You may have heard of it, Tino. It's called Died Hard.
Yeah, I've been.
The
I remember. I remember when you came up with it. Remember you showed me the little mock up or whatever, the outline of the
yeah,
story. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
that seemed
so
like a while. That seemed like so long ago.
well, yeah, because I came up with it. I came up with it like Christmas time or whatever. But and actually, I probably came up with it even before that, probably like September or something of last year.
You came up with it because of the
Violent Night.
Christmas. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but oh yes, you know what? I came up with it. Not even the Christmas that just happened, but the Christmas before that.
yeah.
And but we officially announced it. I was talking to someone to actually do the lettering, so we'll probably have a professional letterer on it. Uh, and,
Can
and
can you tell them what it's about, or you don't want to let that go? You just
oh,
let go.
it's the best way to describe it is the Easter Bunny goes on vacation and suddenly finds himself in the middle of a terrorist situation, and he's got to murder some motherfuckers to stop a hostage situation.
Sounds
So
familiar.
so it might sound a little familiar. Someone actually asked me if I had been reading like all of the old actual Easter Bunny tales about Peter Cottontail and stuff, and I'm like, nah, no, this is my own take on it. This is my own take on the history. I'm kind of revisionist history, if you will. And I'm just making. But the artist actually replied to the person that asked the question. He said I'm looking at all that stuff and I'm using that to help design the character and like how he acts and interacts. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm not. Like this is straight up like just a really cool, fun story. Go ahead.
I'll say, who's the artist?
So his name is Jay Hammond. You can look him up on actually anytime that I'm posting something, I'm tagging him in it. He's tagging me in everything as well. So we're trying to mix and match our social media accounts with all that. Um, but yeah, so I officially announced that. I announced it both on my social medias, but then I also announced it on both of the interviews that I did. Um, and the one interview was from a gentleman by the name of Tony the Toy Rat. He does unboxing videos and stuff, and he was asking really good questions about like the state of comics when it comes to AI being used and stuff. So like we really had to, because it was me and Michael on the interview at the same time. We really had to dive into like our own personal opinions and feelings about that stuff and how and why or how and where it could actually fit in with the creation of artwork and whatever. Um, so yeah, so we did that, and then yesterday I finished up the convention. I did so Michael and I did the drink and draw on Friday night like we normally do. They give you coasters and you sit there and draw on them, and then they auction them off. And but Saturday night is the art auction they do, where they have like some of the top artists in the industry like auctioning off their personal work. And I didn't go to that. Like I was so tired. I was like, I'm done. I'm just so. But I'll tell you right now. Next time you're in Charlotte, Tino, I'm a huge Philly cheesesteak fan.
Right,
So obviously in Raleigh, I like to go to Primo Hoagie because they've got the best Philly cheesesteak in the area.
and that is North Hills, right? Or
That is it.
Northgate.
No, North
North
Hills.
Hills. North
North Hills.
Hills.
And it's on the side that used to have like World of Beer and the bowling alley and everything else. Uh, right next to the Harris Teeter over there. But Billy and I decided we were going to DoorDash again because we didn't feel like walking. We didn't feel like leaving the hotel. We finally got a hotel where the hotel room got down to about 66 degrees. So we were actually like, old men polar bears just sitting there like being like, yeah, it's nice in here. We'll just watch movies and shit. And and of course, so I decided I'd do that. But we ordered cheesesteaks from a place called Queen City Cheesesteaks. And damn it, they used the right they used the right roll and everything for like an actual Philly cheesesteak.
So explain to everybody what the right role is.
So there's actually a specific kind of roll called an Amorosa roll. Okay. And it's a hoagie roll, but it's got the right amount of crispness on the outside of it, and it's real soft on the inside. And then on the bottom, there's just it almost looks like tire tread on the
Hmm.
bottom of it, or tire tracks, the way that it actually like just gets a little bit of char on the bottom of the roll, and then there's one really super thin layer of cornmeal on there. So like You know, when you see it, you know you have it. It's kind of like how when you go to New York, you can get a Kaiser roll, and
Mm,
you cannot get a Kaiser roll down here. You know what I mean? So it's the
mm,
same kind of thing. But for whatever reason, when you have that specific kind, and normally they have to import those rolls from Philadelphia. So just like how pizza typically is made by the big, the better the water, the better the pizza dough.
mm.
Kind of the same thing. Um, yes,
Okay.
Michael said SummerSlam one night this year, 2025 two nights. This year's in Cleveland, yeah. So it's only one night in Cleveland. Next year it's in Minnesota, I think they said, and it is two nights.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so did that. Got back into town and pretty much watched the 3 episodes of The Boys and caught up on Evil, and
And,
that's what
and
I've
you
been doing.
didn't and you didn't bother to watch the pay-per-view.
I like I said, I watched the Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre match because I thought, like, I know that the Cody Rhodes match is one I have to watch, but I haven't watched it yet because I really want to give it my full attention. And I mean, being gone all weekend and out all weekend, like I wasn't able to watch it at all. I thought about putting it on while on the drive home and just listening to Michael Cole, Wade Barrett, and Corey Graves, but I just didn't think I just didn't think it would give it justice. Um, but that's pretty much what was up with me. This week in stores, I thought it was last week, but apparently this week in stores, Zor #3 will be in stores. Next week, Immortal Ultraviolent #1 will actually be in stores. So anybody that was at the past 2 weeks of signings and conventions got a little early taste of that stuff, and now everybody else will be able to walk into stores and get them. What's up, Mr. Helios?
Mr. Helios tried to cheat. Did he tell you? He tried to he tried to cheat in your game.
What game?
Trivia.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, this bitch texted me talking about how old is Rob. I guess it was a question.
So the question last week. That's funny. Did that? The question last week was what year did Elvis die? And I gave two clues to it that nobody would actually be able to get it from it, and they were he died in the same year that I was born, because it was what year did he die was actually the full question, but he also died on my sister's birthday.
See, so I didn't see the text until like it was like hours later. I'm like, why? He goes, oh, it's a question. It was a question for trivia. Then I was like, I don't know. I think he's 45. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I'm 46. I was born in 77. But I was born at the end of 77. Elvis, however, died on January 8th, 1977. So he died 11 and a half months before I was born. But he
And that
died.
his birth, he died on his birthday. What was in his birthday? January 8th?
No,
It's January something.
I think it's the common misconception that that's his birthday because everybody remembers the day he died. They don't necessarily remember his birthday. But it was my sister Carrie Ann's third birthday. So not Shorty, but my other sister.
Mm.
Mr. Helios says he's watching Game 5, which I guess means basketball. Um, all right. So like I said, Zor #3 should be in stores this week for anybody that's picked up the first 2 issues. I don't have any signings going on currently. I may do one at Ultimate in Raleigh after Immortal comes out. So maybe not this week, maybe next week, but keep an eye on my socials to find that out. Or of
You
course,
gotta you gotta sign it at your house next time I come over and get that damn Zor 3. You're gonna sign it.
well, you got
I,
that money, I got that comic. So
that's what I'm saying. I gotta. But every time I go, like I guess I need to figure out because I go to the one in the mall And they're always like, "Oh, we don't have it."
Yeah.
The Ultimate in the mall. Do I need to go to the? Is it the Ultimate that's over there in South Hills? You know what I'm talking about over there,
I know which
off
one you're
of.
talking about. The only one that I can guarantee has it, the only shop that I can guarantee has it, is the one off Capitol Boulevard.
I ain't driving all the way out there. I'll just buy it from you. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you, Tino. I'd rather you buy it from me. I make more money that way.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, I'm not driving all the way out to Capitol. By the time I spend gas,
No, I know. Trust me, I get it. I get it. Um, so all right. Obviously, like I said, you watch the PLE and everything, but we I do want to talk about the results, because didn't I possibly say, now you might have to remind me, didn't I possibly say with the PLE from WWE that the women's tag team championships could possibly switch hands?
we did talk about that because it was in Scotland. We knew that Drew wasn't going to win, and we knew that Piper wasn't going to win. But we also knew they wanted people to go home happy. So we said if it happened, it would be Isla Fire, well, Isla
Isla
Fire and
Dawn.
Isla Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah. So so
So
we
yeah.
so we did say that.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember if we actually did. I know that we said we expected Jade and Bianca to maintain and retain, because we just didn't think it had been long enough with them. But but
But we said if a team were to win, it would be them because they were in Scotland.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of felt that was the case with that one. So first match of the night was Cody Rhodes against AJ Styles.
Dude. So this match, and you like you said, you need to go back and watch it. Let me go back because I got it on Bleacher Report. So Styles came out first, and I want to point out something, and somebody else pointed it out on X too. These ropes, right? So in the match with the women tags champs, right, with the women, and the match with Damien, both have botches with the ropes, right? They
Yeah.
also pointed out, if you go back and you do watch the Cody match, when AJ, because AJ comes out first, you know how AJ usually he'll go to the ropes and he'll do that, bump his chest off and put his arms out. He was getting ready to do that first match of the night, and the ref kind of was talking to him, while what's her name was doing her announcement. He kind of stopped him and he went like this and he showed him that the ropes were loose. If you knew the ropes were loose, why not tighten them at some point? If not during that match, after the match, during when they're doing the commercials, somebody go out there and tighten the damn ropes where somebody gets killed.
Well, I
And
don't. So we don't know if they didn't, right? Like, and technically, I would think that if the ropes got tightened, they might have been higher up, because tightening them might, yeah, especially the top rope, would have actually put it at a higher level, especially if it was on the very tightest that it could possibly be. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, but it was when he showed AJ the ropes and he did like that. It was loosey goosey. It was loose.
And I'm going to tell you that they must have done it, because when Damien flipped over that rope and couldn't get his leg out, it's because it was too tight. If it was loose, he'd have been able to spread that thing out and get his leg out of there.
Okay, and we'll get to that too. But so it started out with Styles came out first. Cody came out. They did the whole, oh, they sang along. They stopped the music and let them sing along. Before, this is why I say that the overseas crowd, when they go to these places, are awesome, because I think I said it to you that when they did before, when they I guess they were doing the day before when they were going to meet and greet, and Triple H came out and they did his original "I Am the Game," and then the crowd started singing it, and Michael Cole was going to come out and introduce Triple H, and Triple H is like, because he was like this, and they were singing it word for word, like, and on the spot. And Triple H was, you could tell he was like, the fuck, like you. So it was just kind of cool. So it's cool when they sing that, they did it with Randy, they sang his whole songs, But that's another thing to point out. That's why I think that's another reason why these out of the country crowds are awesome.
Well, again, they are, but it's because they don't get it as often.
Hmm.
Like yes, I'm not going to say we're overexposed here because we are still getting, we're only getting what, two shows here every year,
Hmm.
but I'm going to say that, like everything else in the world, the United States takes things for granted. You know, um, the first year that they announced that like London's going to have WrestleMania, like the U.S. is going to go nuts.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be like, "What do you mean we don't get WrestleMania?"
Hmm.
Like it's going to happen.
You don't
Uh,
appreciate it. You don't appreciate nothing. That's why. But
exactly.
so Cody took the fight to AJ like you knew he would. They fought outside the ring. They fought all the way down in the back, through the hallways, and they brought it back in the ring. At some point, I think, and I couldn't tell exactly when, but it's Cody got busted open, and I think it's when he went for a dive and missed and hit the ring post and busted himself open. And then that's when AJ took over and pretty much was whipping his ass. But while he was doing that, he would take the time out to go and fuck with Cody's mom, talk shit to her. And so she was like this, and she's flipping him off and da 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 da. They get back in the ring. They're trying to get Cody to say I quit. He wouldn't say it. He's busted open, and he's like, "Go to hell," and all this other stuff. And so at one point, AJ had him. So AJ's hitting him with chairs. And at one point, AJ went under the ring and he came out with the bag. And they were like, oh, even Corey Grace, like, oh, we know what's in the belt bags. Like, as soon as he said that, it was like AJ heard him. He's like, I know what you think's in here, but it's not what you think. And he dumps it out and his handcuffs and a handcuff key. So he handcuffs AJ's hands behind his back, hits him a little more, but the chain was long enough. You knew it was going to happen. AJ, I mean, he was able to maneuver it, run his legs through it so he can get it in front of him. But while he's in the ring handcuffed and trying to get himself out of it, AJ goes back out the ring and starts messing with Cody's mom again. And she just fucking like paintbrushes him. I mean, she slapped the shit out of him like 3 or 4 times. Part of it, what I think was part of the show, but I think part of it too was giving Cody time to maneuver the handcuffs so he can have it in front of him. And AJ got back in the ring, and Cody got came through with the comeback and beat his ass and got him down. He got the key. He took the handcuffs off. He used it a couple times to punch AJ with it, and then he looks at the crowd and looks at the handcuffs, and he takes AJ and he handcuffs him, and then he handcuffs him to the top rope by the turnbuckle. And he's told the ref, ask him. He says, "You give up?" He's like, he's like, "Go to hell, Cody Rhodes." And so Cody got the chair and hit him a couple times, and ref, "You give up?" And he wouldn't give up. So Cody went outside the ring and he got the steel steps and he threw him in the ring and he picked him up and he was going to run out of him. I quit, I quit, I quit, I quit. Because he was about to bust him in the head with these steel stairs, right? So Cody's holding his, he's like, and the winner, da, da, and he's holding these stairs and he's looking around and he looks at his mom and his mom's like this. And he fucking just chucks him in his head anyway. Pow! Which I think it busted AJ open too. So, but it was a good match. It was a good match. So what do you?
the I heard that the interesting thing about it was when AJ was messing with Cody's mom, they never went to the well like they normally do, where it's
Mm-mm.
like I'll beat the mom, and if I beat up the mom, Cody Rhodes will say I quit. Like
That's what I thought they were going to do.
yeah, and the fact that they didn't do that, I guess because they would have thought that it looks like a man beating up a woman or whatever. I'm not sure, but I could have just pictured his mom sitting there and being like, "Oh, sorry, I just found a wasp in my house."
Uh,
Uh, but I could totally picture him basically being like, uh, listening to his mom because his mom's like, "Don't do it, Cody. Don't do it." You know.
no, she told him to, and he did. He shut those stairs. It was cool. And there was one point I forgot to tell you, and I was reading the Bleach Report. It reminded me on the outside of when they were outside of the ring, AJ hit Cody up in front of the announce table and did a brain buster on the edge of the announce table. I was like, oh my God, you're trying to break his neck.
I don't know if
But
this damn thing is dead or not.
you'll find out when it stings you.
I know. Like, one was in my car earlier, and I was like, well, that shit's going to sting me. Okay, I think whatever it is, I'm just going to leave this bag of shit on top of it. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, the stinger is definitely in the bag now. Anyways, so yeah, so I with that AJ's mom thing, I would have pictured her being the one that would just be like, or Cody's mom being like, "Don't do it, Cody, don't do it," and Cody be like, "All right, mom," like,
Nope. He had the thing. He was like holding it, and he's like this, and she said,
oh yeah,
"So,
yeah, but I mean,
woo."
when he was handcuffed,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
her saying, don't give up, don't give up, and him being like, okay, mama, I'll listen to you,
oh yeah. That would have been too cheesy. And he's borderline cheesy now.
There is some cheese in his performance recently.
Hmm.
All right, so what was next? It was the tag team women's match.
Yeah. And the thing I found interesting in the tech, so they came out, and of course, Alba and Isla had the crowd, and every time they were in the ring, when you do that, usually when it's the good guy hits the bad guy, they're like boo, and when the bad guy, and when or vice versa, like yay, boo, yay, right? So when everybody else was hitting, it was like yay, but whenever they would hit Isla Dawn or Alba Fire, the crowd was like, boo. It was funny, but at one point uh, Alba, Isla, and Shayna and Zoe, all four of them kind of like teamed up to get rid of Jade and
Bianca.
Bianca, to keep them out so they could be just them, right? So they did a pretty good job of that. But it didn't last long. But the one botch that I was talking about, um, and I don't know if it was the ropes were too loose or if they were too sweaty and she slipped. Or it's because, and it could be
Mark,
because she's still green. Jade Carhill, when they jump
I saw
up
the
and they hit and she slipped. So I don't know if the ropes were the sweaty or they were loose. But yeah, she almost killed herself and the person she landed on.
yeah, yeah, I saw that video, and I was like, was this Friday or was it Saturday? And it obviously was.
Saturday.
Um, but yeah, we have new women's tag team champions. I'm gonna say
And
that.
and
Go ahead.
the cool thing about that is they had Baszler knocked out. Jade and Bianca did their little double team whatever, and once they had Baszler out, Isla Dawn came and pushed Jade off the cover and knocked her out of the ring long enough for her to get the 3 count. So it was awesome.
I I am still surprised at how they're using Shayna Baszler right now. And I told you, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not her contract's coming up. Although I did hear a really interesting rumor today that her and Dakota Kai are actually dating each other now.
Oh, they've been dating for a while. If you go back and look at like their Instagrams, and they've been
Uh,
dating a while.
yeah, I saw it on Twitter as like a official thing. So,
Well, maybe it's
uh,
official now, but yeah, they've been
well,
looking like they were
well,
dating for a while.
speaking of dating partners in WWE and whatever, we all know that Dominic Mysterio is married in real life and everything. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the video last week of Dominic showing how his feed is basically everything he posts is being liked by Liv Morgan was one thing. But then this week when she sent him a happy Father's Day message, I thought that was just hilarious. All right, what was the next match on the PLE?
Sammy and Chad.
Now, here's an interesting one as well, because what did I say last week on the show?
If
Like,
he lost, but he
well,
resigned.
but what did I say before that though? And you were like, "There's no way they'd do that."
I don't remember. I'm
I
tired.
said,
I don't remember.
"All right." So this is what I said, and I believe Michael can probably confirm this. But I said, wouldn't it be interesting if Chad was already re-signed and they still had him lose, so that he could end up doing something like win the Money in the Bank?
You did say that. You did
Uh,
say that.
and like tonight on Raw, spoiler for anybody that's not watching it currently because
God,
they're watching us,
I hate
he ha-
spoilers.
he has a match because Adam Pierce tells him he's got to get to the back of the line and work his way back up. that's
Okay.
all that's all I'll say about it.
So
But
that pisses me off.
I know, but it's right at the beginning of the show, so you'll see it immediately.
I still I still haven't seen it. I don't want you to tell me what happens. That's a spoiler. That's what I'm
But
saying. I'll be
well,
pissed off.
I didn't get to watch the end of it because it was still going when we signed on here.
Cool.
Uh, but anyway,
Um,
yeah.
it was everything you thought it would be. I mean, him and Sammy went at it. And he would throw Sammy out to Otis and want Otis to hit him, and Otis wouldn't do it. And then he want Maxine to cheat, and she wouldn't do it. It's the same thing he's been doing the past couple of weeks. The only difference is, at one point, he had Sammy on the outside of the ring because they had knocked Maxine off the apron.
Right.
And so she was just starting to get up, and Otis was checking on her. He had the ankle lock on Sammy. Sammy rolled out of it, and when he did, it caused Chad to uh, chop block um,
Oh,
Maxine, and she fell
oh, oh,
again.
oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
Otis was standing there, and he's looking at Maxine, and all of a sudden he slowly looks at Chad, and he gets Chad up, and he starts doing the whole body shake like he's going to attack Chad, and Maxine goes, Otis, and he looks at her, and he picks her up, and he just walks up the ramp. He's going up the ramp. That lets Sammy hit the hula kick for the win. And while that's going on, Otis is just in the middle of the aisle holding Maxine. And then they got the 1, 2, 3, and they start playing Sammy's music. Then he walked to the back with Maxine.
So while I heard this was a quality in-ring match, they said that there was way too much, like this is what the online people are saying, is that there was way too much Chad Gable trying to say, this is how you do it. This is how you get the job done. And to the wrestling purists, I guess, or the the media people for wrestling, they all basically said that it felt like a glorified house show match. Like it didn't feel like it needed to be on the PLE. Now,
Well,
I'm
he
not
was still. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, sorry. They're not saying that it wasn't a high quality wrestling match. They're just saying that like all the shenanigans that went on is something that would happen in a house show, but everybody was kind of hoping for resolution to this feud right here.
I think it was just pretty much a continuation of him trying to the same thing. He's trying to be the coach, right? So he's trying to show them how it's done. I don't. So I think it was still in his character. He's still being arrogant and trying to be like, this is how you're supposed to do it. I don't know that it was
Well, and he gets to blame all
how.
them loss
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as
So
well.
it was
I
good. It was good.
Yeah, and I'm sure it is a good match. I'll try to watch it sometime tomorrow.
It's funny though. As Sammy was going up the ramp, he had the belt. He looked back in the ring, and Chatty went like, "That's it, bro. You don't get another chance."
So another thing that was announced for Sami Zayn, by the way, is an evening with Sammy and friends. So what that means is Money in the Bank weekend in Toronto. WWE has announced a comedy show with Sami Zayn.
That ought to be interesting.
So yeah, so the night before Money in the Bank, Sami Zayn's supposed to do a comedy special, and apparently it's part of the Netflix as a joke festival.
Nice.
So I didn't even know Sammy did comedy, but apparently he does. So there you go with that.
Also, in the meantime, during this pay-per-view, they're still doing the QR codes and all that. But now there's like it's 2 days. It's the countdown. If you looked at it, it was like 2 days. So they're supposed to happen tonight at some point in time.
Yeah. The
So we'll
question
just
is whether, like, if they were smart, I would say that they do it at like the turn of either the 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock hour, and not wait until the end of the show to do it. But we'll see.
next we have Bailey and another Scott, Piper Nivens.
Uh, I heard how this match came about, by the way, and Piper Niven was doing media this week, and she actually said, you know, when Triple H came in charge and they announced the Clash of the Castle in Scotland, I went up to him and I was like, just so you know, and she was like telling them, she's like, I had to shoot my shot. I was like, I might only get one chance at this, so I need to go ahead and shoot my shot right now. So she
Hmm.
walks up to him and she goes, Triple H, I know that Clash of the Castles in my home country of Scotland. I really wanna, a big time match at the show. And she thought she was gonna have to go into like all these reasons why she deserves it. And he just puts his hand on her shoulder and he goes, we got something in the works.
Nice,
And she just goes, oh,
nice.
something's in the works. And she's just like, I didn't know what else to say. I thought I was gonna have to tell him, well, it's because of this, because of this, because of this. I deserve it. And he was just like, we got you. Don't worry, we got you.
That's
So,
awesome, though. That's awesome.
well, I mean, she got brought in because of him. You know, she got her name back because of him. I mean, otherwise we'd be still looking at either Dewdrop or she'd be on TNA right now.
I think it's cool that Triple H made it a point to use all of his Scottish wrestlers on
I,
that pay per view.
I think I think we've seen that a lot though. Like you look at the
Wait,
Puerto Rico show. Obviously, they had Bad Bunny show up, but they also had Damian Priest in a prominent spot. They had Zelina Vega in a prominent
yeah,
spot. The LWO. Carlito made his return at that show. So I mean, like all that stuff. Like
that's
they
cool that they do. That's cool. That's cool.
that's cool. But I mean, even what's his face? Savio Vega came back at that show.
Yeah,
So they even went old school there. So yeah, the only one they didn't bring back was Carlito's little brother and his cousin.
yeah. Now I was surprised at the Piper Niven and Bailey match that it was while they did cheer for Piper, it's got to be something about the overseas where they do the hey Bailey because they were doing that for her too, and because
Yeah.
even Bailey was like and telling Piper, you hear this, and so it was so usually you would think that Bailey would come in as an underdog and if she would get booed, but she didn't. They
Well,
still cheered her.
I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the main event too. But
Okay.
but yeah, the idea there that I think it's because yes, they know that they have to cheer the hometown people, but then on top of cheering the hometown people, they're still cheering the baby faces. Like that hasn't stopped. Like AJ Styles with his whole phenomenal thing in France,
Hmm.
where they cheered him, but they still cheered Cody.
Yeah.
You know, um,
I mean, this match is what you would think it would be. Piper used her power through most of the match. Excuse me, and Bailey just out wrestled her. Um,
like you said, kind of what you expect.
yeah, kind of what you expect. It wasn't anything big. I was trying to think, and I was looking at the notes and the Bleacher Report, but it was what you expected. Bailey did hit a cool Bailey to belly, whatever she calls it, off the middle rope onto her. That was pretty cool. But it's what you would expect. All right, this is the main event. You can help me talk about this. And what were your thoughts on it? Did it end Well, we'll talk about it, and then I'm going to ask you, did it end the way you thought it was going to end? Because you called it. I didn't think he would show up.
Well, let's talk about the actual match itself.
Okay.
Obviously, we know about the botch in it. You think that it might have been because the ropes were a little bit loose. I think that it's because they over tightened the ropes by the
Okay.
end. Because I mean, obviously, with Jade having her botched spot too. Sorry about the hiccup. With Jade having her botched spot too, they probably did go out and really crank on those to make sure that they were tightened for the main event. I loved the very beginning of this match when Samantha Irvin was doing her announcements, and I've never seen them do this before, and I might just not be watching close enough to see it, but they made sure to spotlight her when she was doing the ring announcing.
They did that all night.
Did they? Okay.
All night. I thought I saw that too. It was all like,
I
we
think they,
look. We know Ricochet's leaving. Please stay.
but you know what? I'll say right now, we don't know that Ricochet's leaving.
That's true.
They did say his name tonight on Monday Night Raw at the beginning of the show. So there is a good possibility that they have asked for a specific amount of time for negotiations with Ricochet, maybe saying what they plan for Ricochet. I don't know. But, like, it's got people thinking, Tino, that this could be a work. Like the entire conversation piece, that there's people out there thinking it could be a work. The match itself, well, actually, at the beginning of the match, like when she's making the announcements, when they announce the challenger from Air Scotland, and you just hear the crowd like erupt, right? And then when Damian Priest, when she announced him as El Campeon, and he holds up the belt, and that crowd isn't cheering and they're not booing, they're just kind of like making noise. And then Drew stands in front of him with his back to the camera, and the crowd cheers again because Damian's being covered up. I was like, okay, this crowd's going to be behind this.
Yeah.
Obviously, the crowd kept making different crowd noises throughout the entire match. I don't know what they were saying. I don't know what they were chanting. I couldn't listen that closely with how I was watching it, but it was kind of what you expected. Two 260, 270-pound guys sitting there going at it. When Damian's leg got tied up in the ropes, you could tell exactly how much of a professional Drew McIntyre is, because the first thing he sat there and he said was, "I can't win this match with him tied up like that."
Mm-hmm.
So of course he's helping Damian get out, but he's maintaining the kayfabe by sitting there and helping him out, but also yelling at the referee that he can't do it the right way. Anyways, I think we saw a lot from Damian Priest after that spot, because dude had one leg. He was not working very well on leg number 2. He really couldn't hold himself up. The fact that he kept climbing to the second and top
Yes.
rope, I was shocked, dude, because like every time someone sells that injury, they're not climbing the rope anymore. And then with all of the stuff that had happened with the ropes earlier in the night, you got to think that like this isn't a good move, like this is a bad idea, bro.
And I don't think he was selling. I think he really was hurt, but he was
Oh.
trying to go on with the match.
I think he's got a high ankle sprain, which is normally a 4-week injury. But with the WWE, I would say he can come out, he can do his mic work, tighten the laces on the wrestling boot, and not have a match until the pay-per-view or the PLE, which by the way is 2 weeks from Sunday.
SummerSlam?
No, Money in the Bank. But it's only 3 weeks away. Or
Nope.
2 weeks away. I like the way that they said it. I think it's 2 weeks away.
But I don't think he probably won't have they might not have him defend the title. He might be in a tag. You try to. Try
I'm
to.
not. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. All right.
I,
Yeah. Don't tell me. I'll be pissed.
I
Um. One thing I did want to say, and I forgot to say it earlier,
don't look
and
at Bleacher Report about it.
no, I just looked at Bleacher Report about this match, and I thought it was that Drew came down to Roddy's music. Well, the pipe, the bagpipes. That was Roddy Piper's music.
Yep.
I thought I recognized it. So
Well, it's actually a very famous Scottish bagpipe song. So Roddy was one of the first that actually got like the really famous song played for him. But of course, Rick Derringer also played Hulk Hogan's music. So they were willing to pay for it with their top guys. Um, the match was solid. The fact that Damian Priest hit the South of Heaven choke slam
yes,
and the Razor's
Razor's
Edge,
Edge.
and I mean picking up a 270-pound man. Now, one of the moves looked like Drew actually helped him with it. The Razor's Edge, he held him up there and then dropped him. It wasn't like let's just get this over with. Um, but and then even like when Drew went for white noise from the second rope and Damien had to like crawl down his back to land on his feet. I thought we were gonna see like the Undertaker coming down from Hell in a Cell against Mick Foley, and he's got that broken ankle and he's sitting there like,
Yeah,
but we didn't get that. I was pleased with it. Now the end of the match, Drew knocks out the referee. The referee's outside the ring.
I
This was
rep, the rep that came. I didn't even realize. All I saw was a zebra. All I saw was the shirt. I didn't realize it was CM Punk until he stopped the count.
so. There's one thing that gave it away beforehand, but nobody noticed it and nobody mentioned it. But he was wearing Chicago colored Jordans.
I didn't
He was
notice it.
he was
Like I
wearing
said,
he was wearing the red, white, and black. I think they were probably Jordan ones, but he was wearing like the red, white, and black Jordans. Which, by the way, referees are always wearing like black wrestling boots. So it kind of like it threw it off, but they do have that Eddie Munster referee with the black slick back hair. So when you like, I'm going to tell you, this is probably the best video work that WWE has done in years because they never once got his face. The crowd never reacted to it. It was, and I don't know if they turned down the crowd reaction or what they did, but they did it perfectly. The only thing that gave it away was the referee's Jordans that he was wearing.
I wasn't looking at his shoes. Like I said, I just thought it's another
Oh,
ref. You know.
only reason why I even noticed it was because I'd already heard what happened.
Ah,
So I'm looking for anything that just throws that off a smidge. And I found it because CM Punk's one of those guys that gave you the Easter egg. He gave you the Easter egg of that it's him by wearing Chicago-based Jordans. At the
mhm.
same time, this is what I wanted to say when you were talking about Bailey and Piper. The crowd didn't boo Phil. In fact, when he got done screwing Drew out of the title, he immediately found people in the. Are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. The you see, it's coming apart. It's aggravating.
Oh, yeah, we got to get you some new ones.
Yeah.
But he immediately found people in the front row wearing CM Punk gear, and that's where he hung out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't booing him for screwing Drew. It's like it was the worst kept secret.
The worst
You
kept
know,
secret.
like the saddest part is that like this clash at the castle, I thought there was a 5% chance Drew McIntyre was winning this match. The last clash at the castle, I was like, this is the time to get it off of Roman. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And this time I was like, storyline dictates that, with Gunther being the guy that's going to be going for the title at SummerSlam, you don't want heel on heel. So like you already knew it was going to be Damian versus Gunther. That may change, and that's all I can say about it.
Okay. Yeah, shut up. I'll watch it when I get off here.
I know it's hard because since I already saw that part, it really could affect where everything goes with that stuff.
Yeah, so shh.
Yeah. So, with that said, uh, from what I read, the show is a solid B to a B plus.
Yes.
Once again, they let the matches breathe. They had only really worked with the stories that they had already built up, so it wasn't like we threw extra stuff onto the show. And I can tell you, like, Triple H is running 5 hours of programming, and then every 3 weeks he's running this 2.5 hour PLE. And yet it just seems like it is running so much smoother than it had for years before that. Because
You know why?
I know exactly why, but go ahead.
I think, like you said, they are giving the stories time to breathe, but the consistency. Remember, we talked about that during the Attitude Era. It was consistency. You followed a story, and for a while there, Vince, it was kind of like this. It wasn't smooth.
Your statement is exactly right, and in fact, it echoes why Chad Gable re-signed with WWE. Chad Gable was on a podcast this week talking about how he re-signed his contract, and I think that information came out before Saturday. So everybody thought, okay, he's going to win because once again, he's got to win because he's re-signing, right?
Hmm.
The the other part of that though is that he actually said the reason why he re-signed was because while he thought that him and Otis were floundering before Triple H took over booking the shows, he said you almost saw a trajectory change immediately upon Triple H taking over. And he's absolutely right. He said, and then he said, I started getting more singles matches against top guys. I started winning singles matches against top guys.
Yes.
And every single thing that Triple H has told me has come true. And he said the main thing that Triple H said though is that I want to find a spot for every single person on the roster every single week. He said it might only be 2 minutes one week, it might be 5 minutes the next week, but he wants to find that spot that they fit in and they fit perfectly. And I think that you see that with people like Chad, you see that with people like R-Truth, whereas Vince would go, oh, that R-Truth is hilarious, get him out there, like, and you'd be like, why? Like it doesn't fit. There's no story. There's nothing here. And yet he did it, and Triple H is doing it now. And when R-Truth came back, R-Truth has been more relevant since coming back than he ever was during the 24/7 championship days.
And while he is still funny, it's not funny just to be funny. Like you said, they're using him correctly. Like I love the backstage segment last week where Miz is like, "Hey, looking for Truth. Have you seen Truth? Have you seen Truth?" And he comes out of the room talking about he's talking to the fortune teller, and they were going to fight the APA last week. So I mean, you know what I mean? He's still R-Truth. He's still funny, but it's like I said, it's consistent. It has to do with the storyline that he's in. The storyline is he's out there and Miz is trying to control this maniac, right? And keep him from giving out tag matches all the time, right? So it's Truth being funny, but not for the sake of just let's throw, like you said, let's throw Truth out there and just let him see what he does,
Well,
right?
I think that it is directed better, but it is still Truth just being Truth. I mean, the week that they had the Connecticut women's basketball coach out there, and he's like offering them a tag team championship match, like
I
there's
still
something said about that.
My favorite is still when they had the ice cream truck and they were asking Miz like they're talking about their favorite flavors and he's like Miz is like, well, you know what your favorite? He goes, I don't know, what is my favorite? And New Day said, yeah, what were you gonna say? I was gonna say strawberry. That's not what you were gonna say. Oh,
Oh boy. So Tino, I talked about what I thought about the main event of the match. I want you to talk about it. I'm going to step away to get myself a beverage.
I kind of tend to agree with you on that match. That match, I think if Damon hadn't gotten hurt, if he hadn't have got his foot tied up in the ropes, I think they could have gone a little longer. But I like the big man on big man
Aspect.
aspect of it, and they sold well together. You know, you like they didn't overbump, they didn't undersell. I mean,
I
if
thought
some
I thought there was a little confusion early on in the match. Some of the
with
moves,
what
just some of the moves looked a little sloppy. But when they got their composure down, and I think they got their let's be honest, when you're in a moment where you're in your home country for the first time since you started wrestling, like your adrenaline's got to be pumping. You've got to be thinking like how do I calm myself down to actually. And I know that Drew McIntyre is one of the best professionals in the industry, but at the
but
same time,
they said it on commentary earlier. They were saying that when you are in front of your home crowd like that, it pumps you up more, so you get blown up, you know, because you're like, and so you're already blown up before the match starts. So yeah,
well, I think it's that, but I think there's another component that goes with it, and that's the fact that Damian Priest has never been in this position before. You know, like on TV, he's had one championship match. You know what I mean? So like he's now being asked to carry the company, and I wonder which one of them actually called the match. You know, like I would assume,
they usually say the heel, so, and I would assume Drew would call it because he's more of a veteran.
and I kind of think that it would be Drew as well, but a lot of times the champion calls the match. So it's and Damien's not necessarily the baby face, he's the heel. So
I know, but I think that veteran and probably being in Drew's home country, I think just basic courtesy, I guess. Like, hey, why don't you call it? We're in front of your people. What do you want to do, kind of thing.
well, and that's where I wonder if the humility in Drew is hey, it's your time. How about you go ahead, you call the match. Obviously the end was definitely a Triple H decision, you
Hmm.
know. But again, they pulled it off to perfection.
Perfectly, yes.
Like I said, they have that Eddie Munster looking guy who's got the slick back black hair. So when he slides into the ring and he goes 1, 2, and then he goes, and you're like, what? Why did? And what made it even better, Tino, in my opinion, is that it's less than a month after Gunther didn't have Randy Orton's shoulders down.
Hmm.
So the referee, like when they started going, did the referee see something we didn't? And then all of a sudden they pan over and it's CM Punk, and he's just like, like you're like, oh shit, they 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 got us all, you know. So yeah, I very well done. Did you watch? Do you want to talk about any of the other programs that happened?
No, because it's the same old, same old. I'm interested to see how far they're going to go with the bloodline and how far before either Paulie quits or they kick him out.
Well, we didn't even talk about the fact that like after Cody Rhodes' match
They
that
came
he
out and jumped him,
that he got beat down by the bloodline.
and then KO didn't KO come out and Orton, or was that Friday night?
KO and Orton came out to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, I think Money in the Bank, we're going to get a uh,
Triple, 6 man.
a 6 man, and with it being the pay-per-view before SummerSlam, it'll be interesting to see if we get a Roman Reigns appearance at Money in the Bank.
Because we're still saying that he's going to come back at SummerSlam.
I mean, that is the rumor.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure.
I was reading somewhere and I was like, They were saying that Roman comes back and he gets kicked. He gets kicked out. So he's gonna probably restart the bloodline. But they were saying when the wise man gets kicked out, they bring in Haku, which does make sense because if they're talking about bringing Hikuleo in, right?
Another
And then
son.
yep, and then he already has his 3 other sons. So then they kick Solo out. So then you have the Tongan bloodline against the Samoan bloodline. I'm like, hmm,
Well, where does The Rock fit in?
huh?
Well, where does The Rock fit in?
That's what I can't figure. Like I said, that's just something somebody threw out there. And I thought that was just interesting. And The Rock wasn't in that conversation, but yeah, I forgot
So
about The Rock.
so initially, and I might be wrong. We might need to look this up, but I believe that The Rock technically is not actually related to any of them. They just consider them all related because they all grew up so close to each other.
Hmm.
So I Adam Maivia, I don't think is actually related to the Tongans or the the Rikishi bloodline. So
Was it Anoi?
the Anawai, yeah.
Anoi, yeah.
Well, yeah, but the Usos aren't Anawais. They're shit.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of their names either, but
Yeah. Yeah, one of them was Sika, one of them was Afa. Like,
yeah, but that isn't that like Fatu? Was it Fatu's?
oh,
Who
yeah, the Fatus.
the Fatu's, which is Rikishi by Fatu. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rikishi's a Fatu, and he's like the brother of Sika.
Yeah, so yeah, they're related.
So they are,
Hmm.
but the Tongas are not.
Or not.
And in fact, Tama Tonga is actually just related because he was adopted.
He was adopted by
Although I
Haku.
believe Tonga Loa actually is his legitimate son.
Tangaloa and
And Hikulea.
are brothers, and they are his sons, and the other one Haku adopted.
Mr. Helios says Tonga is not all that threatening. All right. So I have heard this, and I'm going to say that based on what we've seen from WWE television, I have to agree with your statement. However, they are the kids of Haku. Like
And there are stories about Haku.
I think there's a story that he legitimately bit off someone's thumb.
He gouged out somebody's eyes. There's a whole bunch of stories.
He gouged out the dude's eyes because the guy sat down at his booth while he was eating his like Japanese dinner. And then when the cops showed up and they wanted to arrest him, he just said, "Do it if you think you can." And the cops were just like, "Have a good night, sir." Like, like that's that. But see, that's what they're trying to pass off that these guys are able to do, and they haven't done it yet. You know, the closest we've seen to that was that night that Kevin Owens came running, falling through the ropes or through the curtain, and his face was just blasted with blood. And
Yeah.
yet they still, because it was Kevin Owens, they still allowed Kevin Owens to sit there and look like a badass by getting up and fighting till he couldn't fight anymore.
Hmm.
And that's part of the problem with this. If they had done what they always do when they want to introduce and show how badass people are, they squash everybody. But Right now, Solo Sikoa hasn't won a singles match since he beat John Cena at SummerSlam or WrestleMania. Was it WrestleMania? No, it was SummerSlam. It gave me a thumbs up. So I still to this moment, I'm sitting here going, why am I supposed to believe that the leader of the bloodline currently is someone I need to worry about? Now, I didn't even think about this though. There's a very good possibility that Jimmy Uso is the one that makes a save for Cody Rhodes at Money in the Bank, and we don't get Roman yet. And I could see them doing that thing where they talk about how the tribal chief is coming back, and he doesn't actually come back until SummerSlam. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they wouldn't even need him to come back, because you would have like Jimmy Uso sitting there trying to make peace with his brother Jay, and the whole time like that new bloodline still beating people down. But you got to admit, Terrence, that when you have three guys beat down the world champion, the world champion's in a little bit of trouble. So obviously, it's not one person that's beating down the champion here; it's all three of them.
Give you that.
So I guess we got to talk about the other guys. We could talk about we could. Well, hold on. I got to create another banner tonight. I didn't even think about it, but here we go. How about this one?
I haven't been watching TNA, so I have no idea what you're about to talk about.
So on Friday night they had a pay-per-view.
Okay.
And it was Moose versus Matt Hardy.
Oh, I do. I think I know where you're going with this.
And while I believe in Joe Hendry, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jeff Hardy made his TNA return, and Sting had to beat him in 3 seconds because he was already drunk. No, I'm kidding. That didn't actually happen. But that was 2010, I think. But by the way, Tino sends me these videos from like three guys that just like love to make fun of old school TNA videos. And
just think over the Hogan where he just turn around as he's turning and he blinks before he gets into the chair.
back at the
He didn't even try to hide it. He goes, I'm about to get hit with a chair, okay.
Well, didn't they also say I'm not ready to turn around yet? Like so when he goes to turn around, he goes like that, just like completely cuts right through one of his wrinkles in his forehead. But yes, Jeff Hardy made his return. But tomorrow night on NXT, Matt Hardy has been announced for the championship battle royal. So Matt Hardy will be making his WWE return, even though, and by the way, he's not currently contracted to TNA. It makes me wonder whether or not Matt Hardy is under some sort of agreement to WWE, though. And it would make sense that they're doing this like talent trade-off kind of thing. If that's the case, I could see both Hardy Boys actually technically being under a WWE, maybe even a short-term, as long as you guys stay clean, agreement to stay with WWE for a while, so that way they can show up on both programs.
I can see that.
And I think that that Triple H grew up in that era where they did that with ECW. I mean, remember, what was it? A 16-year-old Jeff Hardy showed up and faced Razor Ramon on Monday Night Raw. And they were contracted to ECW at the time. So I mean, I could totally see that Triple H sees the wealth and area of opportunity with taking contracted individuals and continuing to pay their contracts, but put them on other programs so that way they can build up their names somewhere else, just like they used to do. So I was pretty impressed by both of those. Now, Tino, at the WWE PLE last weekend, was it just, and what I mean by last weekend isn't the Clash of the Castle, but is the NXT one that they did. Is it just me, or did I hear people chanting for Joe Hendry?
I didn't hear anybody coming for Joe Hendry.
Well, apparently some people did, and even not Corey Graves, but Pat McAfee last Monday night said something about one of the female wrestlers and said, "Say her name and she'll appear," just like the Joe Hendry thing of say his name and he'll appear.
I caught that. I did catch that.
Yeah, so very similar to how they started making mention of CM Punk before he ever came back. So I tend to think we may be in for some Joe Hendry tomorrow night in that battle royal. Now it might be he gets in there, he sits there and and sings his song for a minute and then he gets tossed. I don't know, but there's a possibility there. So that's all I really had to say about TNA, except Jordan Grace did have her open challenge accepted by a WWE wrestler. Can't remember who it was. I want to say it's an NXT lady. But I also, it's funny that there's actually a "Do you believe in Joe Hendry" thing on here already. But I the first thing I want to talk about when I talk about AEW, Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, all that, is that, again, listening to at least one of the rest of the podcasts out there, okay, Bleacher Report just put something up on my screen.
Shut up.
Not going to say it.
It just beeped on my phone and my watch. I'm not looking.
Okay. It's storyline related. That's all I'll say. But Jim Ross this week stated, and this must show, like, I know that he was in the hospital and we're hoping for a quick recovery from good old JR, but they must be giving him some good drugs because he sees a world where Shane McMahon could show up in AEW someday.
That bitch is high.
You heard what I just said. He must be on them good drugs.
That's what I said. That's why I said it. That bitch is high.
I'm gonna say we popped each other on that one because we both said it.
I think I'm getting punchy now too.
JR, we love you. We hope for a fast recovery.
But you need crack his whack.
After a couple weeks of making it look like Swerve Strickland was being booked like a champion, I feel like they went right backwards on it this week.
I'm done.
I don't know what they're doing with a bunch of their storylines. I don't know what they're doing with Orange Cassidy and Trent. Why Chris Statlander is part of that, I don't understand. Swerve is putting on masterful matches when he's in the ring. His mic work is off the charts too. I just don't get what they're doing with him. But I did really enjoy the Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata segment this week as well. That might be my favorite part of EW television. And I wish to God that they would just sit there and beat the ever-loving shit out of Jericho's learning. Like, not even let him sit. Like, I could picture them beating him down then beating him down, and then while he's laying on the ground, grabbing the microphone and being like, "But hey, guys, that was a great beatdown. I really appreciated it," and ruining the entire thing. Like that, I never thought I'd say it's time for Jericho to go away, but and it's because every gimmick he's ever tried to get over, including the list, he's gotten over. This isn't getting over.
It's annoying the piss out of people.
And every week they do it again. I think someone knocked him loopy, and he's just loopy.
Yeah.
I the saddest part is as of right now, it's going to be what we remember about him when it's time to finally, hang up the boots. He had one of the best runs from like 2009 to 2012, where he was the really quiet guy that wore the suit down to the ring and would just talk like this into the microphone and tell you that he was the greatest of all time and he was the best in the world at what he does. And now I'm sitting here going, I don't get it. Have you have you been watching? And the only reason why I'm saying this is because it reminds me of what happened to Bret Hart when he became like the bitter, like, guy that just won't ever forgive certain people, but yet is a complete hypocrite when he forgives McMahon and Shawn Michaels. Like have you been watching the Who Killed WCW?
No, I hadn't.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you that, like,
What is that on?
it's on Vice.
Okay.
Which you should have with your YouTube TV.
Yeah, I think I did. I'll find it. So
There's 2 episodes out. The new episode comes out tomorrow night. The episode tomorrow night is all about the Vince Russo era of WCW.
okay.
The first episode was all about like the rise of WCW, and it's got people that don't normally get to talk about this stuff, and like Bischoff like totally threw Hogan under the bus the first episode. And what I find hilarious about it is 2 people that are not part of this documentary at all are Hogan and Flair.
Really?
Yeah. But the second episode dealt with like how Bret Hart got misused and how Eric Bischoff is actually sitting there going, I would sit there and tell Bret like, yeah, come to TV, we'll have something for you. And I just wouldn't have anything for him. And I would just make him show up and we wouldn't know what to do with him. But then they talk about the Goldberg and Bret Hart thing where Bret Hart got the concussion. And Bret Hart blames Goldberg still to this day, 30 years later, when Goldberg has said, I apologized. And he even says it on the thing. He's like, I apologized. I told, and even says, I told Bret what was coming. Bret knew the move was coming. He took the kick to the head. And I mean, it was an accident. I've apologized. I don't know what else I can do. And Goldberg and Bret Hart's like, yeah, he told me that he was going to kick me. He said, watch for the kick. And I said, I had no idea. And I got my head kicked off. And it wasn't an accident, Bill. You did it on purpose. And it's like I don't know who to believe here at this point. Like, because Goldberg, they're sitting there on the same programming, and Goldberg's like, I said I was sorry. I didn't, like, I was still green, like that was 2 years into me being in the business. And I'm sitting there like trying to have a match with one of the best guys in the world. And I'm calling the match and he's not ducking. Like, what am I supposed to do? But here's the thing that I don't get about all that is that, yes, Bret Hart got a concussion from the kick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bret Hart's stroke could have been avoided had they taken him off the road. That's not Goldberg's fault that he had to keep going on a plane where he could have a blood clot.
Yeah.
That's whoever's in charge. Yet you never hear Bret Hart say that Bischoff is to blame, or Jamie Kellner, the president of Turner Sports at the time, that he's to blame. You never hear him say any of that stuff. He blames Goldberg because it was Goldberg's foot that hit him in the head after Goldberg told him the move was coming. How do you feel about that? And you know what? I'm just going to take the banner down because we're obviously not talking about AEW. And I know you want to get off here soon, so we'll try to close off after this.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I'm sending you something.
Oh. While you're sending it, do you want to start talking about it? So that we
I can't think right now. I can hear her back there now.
Oh, I mean, if you need to run, man, we can.
Yeah, let me go make sure she's all right.
All right, I will continue talking.
Okay.
Unless you just want to end the episode.
You can. You can finish it if you want to.
Hop off and I'll just end the show tonight.
All right, you guys take care.
Sorry, folks. Just so everybody knows, I'll just go ahead and say it. Tino has a family emergency going on, so he's going to be off of here. I'd say we'll try to keep everybody updated. It's nothing with his immediate family, but anyways, it's something that does concern his wife and their side of the family. So I'm going to go ahead and say we will end the show tonight. If you guys haven't watched The Boys, I've thoroughly enjoyed the first 3 episodes of season 4. Evil, which is on every Thursday on Paramount, has also been really good. If you haven't watched that series, I highly recommend it. If you're religious in any way, you might not want to. It does take liberties with the Catholic Church, but I've thought it was really good. Again, Zor number 3 should be in stores this week, and of course, Immortal. Immortal should be in stores this week, and Zor number 3 should be in stores next week. So we'll talk more about that next week as well. On all of the socials, Tino is SC Tino on Instagram. He's HootieFan91 on Twitter. He is, I believe, Tino Gray Music on TikTok. The show obviously is youtube.com/Rob Pochak. Rob Pochak on Instagram, Rob Potsy Pochak on Instagram, Rob Potsy Pochak on Twitch and TikTok, and then of course Pochak on Twitter. Our theme song, as always, is brought to you by Adam's House Cat. It's called the Wrestling Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents, as Tino likes to say, 99. And with that, everybody, thank you so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done it. We will be here next week. I would say that we'll update everybody with what's going on. I can't guarantee that we will, but have a great night. It's great seeing you, and we'll be here next time.
Everybody wants to be the next boy, but I am the